This is James Lupton. Delighted to be joined with Umar Sadiq. Umar, how are we, mate?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. No problem at all. My pleasure. Been a long time since we've spoken, and I've got
Hmm.
you today to speak about the huge undisputed fight between Beterbiev and Bivol.
Yeah.
You have sparred Bivol. Now, I'm going to do this interview a little bit backwards compared to how I'd normally do it. I'm going to start
Okay.
off by asking for your prediction, first of all.
Ah, uh, I don't know that I have one. There are too many variables and unknowns.
Well, let's get into the breakdown of it and why they're what the variables are. So, in your
Mm.
opinion, obviously, as I mentioned, you sparred Dmitry Bivol, so you sort of have a better understanding of what he does well and what he doesn't do so well compared to Beterbiev. But talk to me
Hmm.
about the two of them. I know you study boxing, you love the sport, so I know you've watched these two plenty. Talk to me about this fight and why it's such a good fight.
It's a very good fight because although Floyd made made it so that people didn't face each other because of protecting the O's, that's been changing a lot recently, fortunately. And yet these two guys are undefeated, not because they've been fighting people they expected to beat. They've they've both had solid tests where, even if they were favorites, it's maybe like a 60-40 kind of situation. So they've done well and still come out, where they are. And then but Beterbiev, you've got someone who literally has 100% knockout ratio, who I think is the only active fighter with a 100% knockout ratio. I also think he's the only fighter who bar beyond Deontay Wilder until he fought Stiverne. I think Beterbiev is the only world champion with a 100% knockout ratio. And he's not even a heavyweight like Wilder is or was, if he's still fighting. So when you have that against someone who has such boxing fundamentals as Bivol does, is able to make Canelo. So Canelo has lost obviously to Floyd, and then he's lost to Bivol. And those two performances from the other party, not Canelo, are comparable in as much as how dominant they were over him. But nobody else has been able to make, even when Canelo fought GGG, those are like really big fights. It was 50-50. The fights were 50-50. People fought to win one way or another. But when he fought Floyd and when he fought before, both times it was just like, okay, he got smoked. So it's hard when you have those two different things. But there is the reason why there are so many variables to think about are things such as Beterbiev hasn't fought in a while, just coming back from an injury. He is in that age range where he can age overnight, so we don't know. He didn't take too much time off after the injury as a knee injury, and it was like the fight wasn't pushed back another 3 months, not six. So what version of him do we get? But with Bivol, you have someone who has the stylistic skill set to cope with what Beterbiev has to offer. Although we don't know if Bivol can take a punch, because he hasn't taken a clean punch that we've seen. So we don't even know what happens when he gets hit, if he gets hit. I'm trying to I try to look at this fight as objective as possible, which means that I'm also trying not to draw anything back from when I sparred Bivol, because I've never been in a ring with Beterbiev. So if I draw on things that I experienced when I was sparring Bivol, it just by nature, it taints or it pollutes my objective nature and assessing the facts. So I'm trying to look at it from the perspective of what have I seen on TV from both. And Bivol has the movement that can trouble Beterbiev, but he doesn't get tired doing it. So if you look in Beterbiev's fights, he is shown to be vulnerable. A lot of times it's because the person he's with is just trading normally with a heavy puncher and he ends up getting the best of them. That being said, for example, when he was fighting Yard had a lot of good success when he was moving around so much and being so agile and athletic. Unfortunately, though, I think that was taking a lot out of Yard to maintain that. And eventually he was going to have to slow down. And then when he did, Beterbiev got to him. Whereas with Bivol, he's shown time and time again he can bounce in and out, probably for 15 rounds if he fought for 15 rounds. So it'll be very interesting to see.
You mentioned there, Umar, that Bivol has never faced a puncher like Beterbiev, but has Beterbiev faced anybody as elusive as Bivol?
I actually didn't say that. I said we haven't seen him take a big punch. Yeah, I can't think of a clean, heavy shot that I've seen Bivol take. Uh, but yeah, back to Beterbiev, the good question. We haven't seen him against anyone with the movement of Bivol. No, we haven't. Also, okay, so we haven't seen him with anyone with the movement, but like I said, that's why I brought up the yard thing. Because when yard was bouncing in and out, Beterbiev was having issues. But like I said, it was hard for him to sustain that style, especially because it's not his natural style, right? Inevitably, you will slow down. But again, Bivol hasn't shown to slow down. His boxing IQ is such that he's shown to be very clever at picking his moments. And then to add to it, he's typically facing guys who are taller than him. So when he fought Richards, Spider Richards, taller than him, dealt with him. Lyndon Alpha, taller than him. But then when he's fought people who aren't taller than him, we're talking Canelo, he washed him. The guy Zaid, I think his name is, he's taller than him, but he's not like the tallest person. We saw what he did there. So when he's not giving up too much height advantage, his boxing ability comes through a lot clearer. So it'll be interesting to see how he's able to implement that on someone in Beterbiev who isn't significantly taller than him. Uh, I do think though that Beterbiev punch is hard enough that if he catches anybody clean, evidently they're gonna know about it. I just don't know if he's gonna be able to get in after a knee surgery against someone who's great at moving for 12 rounds.
A lot of people feel it's a 50-50 fight, and you can make a case for Beterbiev to win by stoppage, and I make a case for Bivol to win on points. Flip it. Can you make a case for Bivol to win by stoppage, and can you make a case for Beterbiev to win on points?
Shit, Beterbiev's shown to be vulnerable. He's been knocked down, so there's every reason why he could be stopped. I don't see him outboxing Bivol simply because of the work rate.
And just finally, I want to come on to your sparring with Bivol, and I know you mentioned you can't sort of look at that and take that into a prediction or what you think may happen in the fight because you can't compare the two. But just tell us about your time with sparring Bivol and, how good is he in that ring? How clever is he, and how much did you learn from him?
I learned a lot. He's really good. He's always poised to attack or defend. He switches up very rarely. For me personally, that was one of the things I was. It's a shame I had to retire when I did because I was honestly the best I ever was. Um, so some of the things that I was paying attention to when I was sparring him was okay when he has a lapse in concentration, how to take advantage, but those opportunities were so few. Um, and then besides that, when you hit him, he wants to let you know who's boss, which is a great thing, but could also be used against him. Because actually, after a few times, I started to use it against him. So I was like, okay, I just got to get a shot. I know he's going to come back and then, have this other thing. But what he does have is, yeah, every single second of the round, you know that this guy can hit you or he's setting up something and it's going to be devastating. You also can't stand in one spot with him because he would absolutely let his hands go. And he does it in such a smart way where he doesn't smother himself. He would do it and then you think you're gonna throw the counter that would normally catch people and he's out and then he's back in. And so you go, find your way out. Um, yeah, so he's got great attention, which I think is one of the things that separates the champs from people who have so much potential but don't deliver. Is do you have the mental stamina to stay focused every second for 12 rounds? He has that in abundance. He has great judgment of distance and timing. He's always poised to attack or to defend, which is optimal. He has a champion's mindset, so he always wants the last word, but he's responsible with it. He's not gonna do desperate things and set himself out of balance and whatnot because he's trying to get you back. If the moment's gone, he will let it go, but he's still trying to get you back. So he's very smart in all of those respects, and I can see how him trying to get someone back can be a vulnerable thing against someone like Beterbiev. If we then just like, okay, let's have it then, you know. Man, it's hard. The reason why there's so many unknowns, again, like we've been talking about, can Bivol take Beterbiev's power? Does Beterbiev get him at any point? Is Beterbiev's footwork going to be hampered by the fact that he just had a knee injury and he could age overnight? Um, Beterbiev has shown to be vulnerable, but Bivol doesn't punch like a Callum Johnson. Um, yeah, we just don't know, but it's the best fight and the best. What we know for a fact is that you think of any other light heavyweight on the planet right now, um, respectfully, if they were to fight any of these two guys would be the favorite by far. So yeah, it's great that we're getting number one and number two fighting each other.
No, it certainly is, absolutely. But Umar, thank you very much for your time. It's great to get a little insight into your sparring sessions with Bivol. And what's interesting is that you saw the flaws in him rather than, or as well as what he does well as well. So it's certainly going to be an interesting fight.
Yeah, thank you, man. I mean, I didn't even say it to mean that. It's more so anything could be a benefit or a disadvantage. Depends how you use it. You know, if you got a guy that's got a great right hand, straight right hand, it could be devastating if you don't know what to do with it. But if you have a plan for it, it can become a benefit. You're like, yeah, I want him to throw it. So it's more so just one of those things.
Absolutely. Umar, thank you again. Pleasure speaking to you again.
All right, thank you. Take care.
And you, mate.